Discover your inner goddess and live up to your highest value and most abundant potential. Welcome to Grateful Goddesses, a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
Our guest today is Alison Robertson. Alison is a solution-focused personal development coach, motivational speaker, and host of the podcast, The Con Artist, The Art of Confidence Through the Creative Mind. As a personal development coach, Alison has been working with clients for over a decade to move from where they are in life to where they want to be. Her debut book, Enoughness, The Simple Truth to Embracing You, has appeared on the Forbes 7 books to help you help yourself, and Forbes 20 books to inspire your happiest life at work. Alison says, "I truly believe that many of us have lost our way and are looking for more. I have found that when I help people learn the difference between their gift and their passion and how to make them work together, they are able to then create their ideal life. I also believe that we are living in chaos, and until we are able to find harmony, not balance in life, it is next to impossible to keep moving forward. I love helping people find that space." It is with my honor to invite Alison Robertson to join us today on Grateful Goddesses.
Hello, thank you so much. It's so great to be here. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Well, I'm excited too. As I mentioned, I have been working with you, and it's just been a few times, but I know your energy, your positive energy, and your straightforwardness. Karen, know that you are enough, right away from the get-go, really helped inspire me to start to create change and take actionable steps in my life and not be having that like imposter syndrome or that feeling like I need to get more, I need to do more, wait a second, that kind of thing. I want to talk about the difference between the two, passion and your gifts, just for our listeners out there. First of all, if you can explain the difference, and then how does that apply to what you do?
Sure. Yeah, great. Gifts and passion is one of my favorite things to do with anybody. And, I live here in Los Angeles now, but it can really hit people the wrong way. It really can upset them because they're not understanding that I'm trying to express that you have so much more in you. I'm not trying to take anything away, but a gift is something you've been doing your whole life. It's something that's innately in you. And a passion is something that you love to do. And, I come from a creative background, and living here in Los Angeles and being in the show business industry, so many people want to take their passion and turn it into a business, or take their passion and be the only thing that they do when they have a gift or they have other things that they do. My example is Daniel Day-Lewis is probably his gift is acting, because this is what he does all the time. What he's passionate about, I don't know. But so many people want their talent to be their gift. And for me, the example for myself is my passion is acting and creating and being a performer. And my gift is that I have always innately understood where people are emotionally and know how to move them from point A to point B. Even as a little girl in kindergarten, I can remember understanding people and just being able to read a room. So once I separated those two, I was able to become so much more successful and had so much more understanding in my own skin. When I saw that, yes, my passion, I can certainly make money. I can certainly have a career. I have a career, but when I focus on it, I lose so much of my gift and my talents in my world. So I hope that
so I was trying to think of myself. I'm a teacher, and I feel like I'm good at that. I feel like my passion and my gift are kind of intertwined for me. I've taught for years now, off and on, and I feel like it's easy. It's easy to, and I love it. It's a flow that I have when I'm teaching, but I also feel, and I don't know if it's my passion or my gift, maybe you can help me distinguish, but I
Sure.
like helping people just like you. People have said over the years, you're like the glue, you connect people. Were you a matchmaker in your past life? And I'm like, even the featured goddesses here today, I've connected to each other and always searching, oh, you would get along with this person. And I love to see change in people as well. So what would be my passion and what would be my gift?
Well, so first of all, have you always been connecting people since you were a little girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody always says, oh, I like to help people. And I'm always like, can you go deeper than that? And you answered it right away. You said, I connect people.
Yeah.
That's my, right? So you've probably been connecting people since you were little, right? But when we have a gift like that, you can't say to somebody, so my gift is I connect people. What job do I do? What career do I choose?
Right.
How do I, right? But we dismiss it. And you obviously didn't, because you told me your story about how you became a teacher and how you went into that path. It wasn't by coincidence. I mean, you were absolutely led by your gift, right? Your passion, from the little bit I know about you and the experience with you, I mean, you want to put yourself out there, whether it be as a performer, as a goddess, as someone who's teaching people, so I would ask you to look into your passion of how you self-express. Right.
Right.
And that's where I would head you towards, to find your passion. Right. Something that you would do no matter whether it made money, whether it got you.
Well, that's Grateful Goddesses. I mean, right now it's been such a great journey, and I love learning, and I'm passionate about interviewing people and finding out, all of the certain qualities they have and how they've overcome challenges. And I love it. I love doing it.
You're a storyteller.
Yeah, I guess so.
So that's your passion, to tell other people's story, tell your own story, whether it's through, performing, interviews. So I would say your passion is storytelling on some level.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite our featured goddesses on. So Camille, she has her own podcast, The E-Spot, and she also has done lots of modeling and acting. In fact, Camille, I love the pictures you posted on Facebook of your first modeling jobs. I love it. She has some questions.
Great.
Yes. Well, Alison, I love that our paths have kind of had some similarities, but I'm curious for you, because I know I was a little starstruck reading through your bio. Was there ever a time that you were starstruck? I mean, working with Liberace, come on. I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't be starstruck, just the big glamour of it all that he's known for. So I wonder, what was it like working with someone so huge and legendary as well?
Well, I was a teenager, right? I was 14 years old when I met Liberace and got to spend a great amount of time with he and his troupe. But they're the ones that taught me that I had a passion for performing and singing and acting. They were the first reflectors for me. I was in a rehearsal with Liberace, and I was sitting on the side of the piano, and I just started singing along with something, and the whole crew turned and looked at me, and I was like, because I was an athlete at that point. So in high school and school, that's what I did. I had no idea I had a creative bone in me. And they sort of reflected it to me, and they said, sing it again. And I was like, oh, no. And I'm a teenager and awkward, and, it's just all this. But having that reflection was the first time someone ever reflected something that I didn't know about myself. And that you'll hear that throughout my journey, that I've had amazing people reflect that. And that just started, then I was like, oh, well, maybe I should try doing this. Maybe this is something I should do. So the naivete worked for me in that time. But that was the beginning for me, was with Liberace, discovering my own performer inside of me.
Wow. Now, I have to back up a little bit. How did you even get that opportunity, since you said you're an athlete and you're just happen to be sitting next to Liberace?
This is the goddesses. You're ready for this one. So I am a girl from New Jersey, and I have all those elements in me that you would think of a Jersey girl. And my parents are no exception to that. My parents and I'm an only child. So my parents and I are extremely close. But my father, when I was growing up, was a gambler. So we spent almost every vacation and holiday in a casino. So that is how I met Liberace, because at that time, when you were a 12 or 13-year-old girl at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas for Easter, there's not a lot of kids there at that time. And
it's
Liberace,
not very Easter bunny, no.
And Liberace had a protege named Eric Hamlin, who was my same age. And the casino thought, well, here's 2 kids on the property, let's introduce them. And we became friends, and that's how it started. So talk about fate or destiny. It's the weirdest story, and it's so funny. I never tell it because it sounds so bizarre, but that is how I got to know Liberace, because my father was a good blackjack player.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad I'm nosy.
I went and did summer stock in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I was there, again, another reflector for me is I just thought the industry was only in New York and LA. And so when I came to, it was about 93, 94. So, you really didn't think of any other markets. And when I was there, someone had said to me, there's a huge TV and film market here. It's called Wilmington. And I was like, I don't even know where that is, but okay. And I came back to New Jersey and I thought, let me go down here. I can do theater. I can get my experience in television and film. I was coming with a ton of training. So it was just the biggest playground and learning for me living in North Carolina, because I got to cut my teeth in TV and film there. And that, of course, once I left North Carolina, I got back to New York for about 30 seconds and I got cast on Dawson's Creek. So it was a very, I have a real love for North Carolina and what it taught me.
That's hilarious. I have very much a similar story in the sense that my parents divorced my senior year of high school. And up until that point, we were always traveling outside of North Carolina for the most part, doing film and TV work because my dad's a movie producer. My mom's a stunt woman. And so when my parents divorced, I was like, well, there goes my film life. So a guy approached me while I was working in the Clinique counter saying, hey, you should be a model. I'm like, in North Carolina? Okay, whatever. And I started working I was working on Shake, Rattle, and Roll as a stand-in for, I don't even remember who. And while I was there, I heard about Wilmington and Dawson's Creek. I went and started auditioning, and that's how I got on Dawson's Creek.
So such a
same from Charlotte to Wilmington. I remember that drive, very well.
Yep. It's a very long drive.
3 hours. It's not a highway.
And no, we didn't have
there's
podcasts.
No rest stops.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. You had to prepare.
Nightmare.
So Alison, you had a Dawson's Creek, and then you have a whole you have tons of different shows and movies that you've been in. Sounds so exciting. Why did you stop, or?
I didn't stop.
I didn't stop, but you tell us.
But what I did is, so, this is where my multi-passionate comes in, right? Up until I had my children, I just thought, I'm an actress. This is what I do. I'm an actress. And anyone that brought anything to me that wasn't acting, I absolutely ignored, because I had a thought, if I don't do this, if I don't just pursue this, then I'm nothing. And it's when I had my children, when I had my daughters, I had them back to back. They're 14 months apart. And I had to stop. And so when I came to with 2 babies, my acting career had been on pretty much hold. And I just thought, who am I? How do I do this? And I had realized that my myopic wanting to just be an actress and holding it so tightly, that was making me so small and making me very insecure and making me not feel enough. And I had been told my whole life. I remember interviewing with, I believe it was the Gersh agency, and I was 20 years old, and they said to me, do you know there's this thing called a life coach? And we have a department, and you are one. And I was like, no, I am an actress, and that's what I'm going to be. And they said, no, but you could really do this. Like you could really do this. And I thought, I don't even know what you're talking about. Ignored. My mother would send me articles. There's this thing called a life coach. I really think this is for you. And I was like, nope, this is not for me. And I would go to life coaches and I would go to gurus and I would go to everything psychological because it's my gift. And I was so afraid that if I wasn't driven by my passion, then I didn't have anything. So after I had my children, I'm like, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, what am I? And it was my current business partner, who was actually my nanny at the time. And she said, do you know that you are on the phone 6 hours a day helping people? And you really can't get any more bottles of wine or massages. She said, because you're not really someone that likes to be touched that much. So do you want to think about making this into a business? And I said, I think you need training. I think we need more than just who I am. And she said, I don't, but tell me what you need to make this happen. Because your kids are going to go to school. I'm going to lose my job. I don't want to. I believe in you. Let's do this. I'm an only child. I like to play with others. So I was like, okay. And my reason for wanting that certification, for wanting that, is because I took what I was doing for people so seriously that I thought I needed something structure-wise. I wanted to make sure I wasn't damaging people. I think in personal development, so many times people can get their egos in the way of helping somebody. So I went and got all this certification, and I was mad the entire time because I would say, you can't teach people to do this. You can't teach people to do this. You just have to know. So what I was really looking for was a structure, an understanding. And I also wanted a safety net for myself of that if I was helping people, that I was never in any way damaging them or taking them down a wrong path. And that's what my certification taught me. I also live in LA, where everybody is a coach, everybody is a something, your dentist is an actor. I mean, nobody is what they are. So I really wanted to give the piece to the person I was working with. Like, I take what I do very seriously. I didn't just stop being an actress. I expanded, and I still work to this day. So I have these two worlds that that absolutely make each other successful because I let them both exist. Where before I was squeezing the other one.
It's funny because I can relate. I just did a photo shoot last week for Dermaflash, had my face done. That's why I'm so radiant today. But I was thinking, like, I'm putting so much time and effort into Grateful Goddesses. I can't do the other stuff. Forget it. But my agent said, you were booked. You're booked. You want to do this? I'm like, yeah, of course. Because I still have fun doing that, So I'm juggling that and teaching in this. And I feel like it's so important for a lot of the listeners. It's okay to do multiple things. Like, I know we always want to say to focus on one thing and go straight forward with that, but at the same time, if you're good at other things or you have fun at other things, it's okay to do that. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Especially when because that's why I broke it into gifts and a passion, is that then they dovetail into one another and they support one another. Right. But so many times, but I do believe you should only focus on 1 to 3 things in goals. Right. And that doesn't mean you don't have many, you're not multi-passionate. We're diverse people. We have many talents, and especially women. I mean, we can multitask like crazy. So why wouldn't we have interests or desires or abilities that need to be explored? And I think it's short-sighted to just pursue one thing if you have other interests.
So Michelle and I were talking about enoughness and the brain and the scientific research behind it. And she had some questions regarding that.
Great. Hi, Michelle.
That's true. Let's talk about the science for a second.
Yeah.
So, well, I have 2 questions, and they work together. One is, I know you're certified in NLP, and I hear about it all the time. Every time I meet someone, they're taking the NLP course, et cetera. So I'd love to hear about that, but also RAS, Reticulating Activating System. I would love to hear more about it. I know, I know that in general, it's if you tell yourself something enough, your brain searches for that thing. Like if you tell yourself something about being positive, your brain searches for positive things around you. But that's pretty much all I know. I would love to hear you expand on it.
Well, this is one of my favorite topics because my joke is always, I say, I'm a girl from New Jersey, but I love airy fairy stuff. I believe in intuition and empathy, but if it's rooted in science, you've got me. Like if you can show me how it connects the dots, I'm in. And the first time someone introduced me to the reticulating activating system, my mind went, why doesn't everyone know about this? Why are we not teaching everyone about the reticulating activating system? Because it's so important and so influential to our worlds. So yes, and people think affirmations or how you talk to yourself, it's just something you should do or something you could do. No, it's something you must do because it will absolutely alter your life. The brain is the most powerful computer that we have. It will do exactly what you tell it. It does not know negative from positive. It just knows what we tell it. So the reticulating activating system, we get tens of thousands of input per minute. The brain can't handle that. So the RAS filters what we have coming in. So the RAS, what you tell it, then looks for it. Let me give you an example. When you buy a car, you research that car, you go to the car dealer, you talk about that car, you finally make the deal, you drive the car off the lot, and as you're driving down the highway, you see your car. You see your car. My God, there's my car. Did I just make the best decision of my life, or did I just make the worst decision because I see my car everywhere? No, it's not that you see your car everywhere. It's that you've been feeding that RAS for days on this black SUV you're buying, and now you see it everywhere because your brain is filtering it out to find it. It's the same way you can hear your name in a crowd of thousands. Or a mom hears mom and it's not your kid. You just know because your brain that RAS is doing that for you. So I got so interested in this science. There's a book that I'd love to recommend. It's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And he brilliantly explains what I am armchair explaining to you right now. He says things like, remember, it doesn't know negative from positive. So if you say, I am very bad with money, your brain now goes to search all the things to bring you that information. It brings you that. He even said, if you're a smoker, that you are to smoke and say, I'm not a smoker, because the brain understands what it's hearing as opposed to physical, because you're trying to alter it. I had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Shad many years ago, and he's in his late 80s now, but he is the authority on this. So I'm a huge proponent. And my last thing, I'm so sorry, the affirmations. This is why affirmations are so important. They're not just a nice thing, a kind thing we should do for ourselves. My children get furious with me. I take little index cards and I post on their mirror, I am smart, I am brilliant, I am beautiful, I am worthy. They hate it, but I want them when they're brushing their teeth to see that, because it makes a belief true, that you believe it. That's it.
Absolutely. What you said, though, reminds me about the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, reminds me of the laws of attraction in a way.
Yes, because that's the purpose behind laws of attraction, right? We put it out there so we see it, we vision it, the vision board, all that stuff has so much more meaning, at least to me, once I know the science behind it, right? It's not just a good idea. There's actually, concrete evidence behind it working.
I know that for me, without realizing, what that was scientifically, I've been doing that through meditation and other things, just being much more positive with myself and being grateful. And this last year, I've been probably the happiest I've been in decades. And so I understand that. And I like seeing how it works within me.
And one of the things, when you start realizing how you talk to yourself or how you're communicating to yourself or the things you're saying to yourself, you have reached that when you hear other people saying negative things all the time. And it'll drive you insane because you're like, oh my gosh, why are you being so negative? It's their path. It has nothing to do with you, but that's the reflection that that you are making the switch.
If though you're dealing with draining people, Okay. Like you just said, negative Nellies, or what is it called? Nancy?
Debbie Downer, negative
Debbie
Downers. And I understand that. I've had that, and I try and distance myself, but I've also tried to fix it because I'm like, wait, you're sad, you're lonely, you're depressed. Just try. And I've had people say, no, I can't think of anything that I've even had someone on the show, like the GUTV Live, say to me, I have nothing to be grateful for. And I've said, what about your breathing? What about your cup of coffee this morning? What about your glass of water? And I've had people say, well, yeah, but I think it's just how you can't change someone. If they're going to understand that little switch and even try and be grateful for the smallest little thing, they have to come to that decision, right?
Yes. And people like that are very difficult to be around because negative is so easy, right? Negative is so easy to get pulled over into. It's like gossiping. It's just something that just starts to happen instead of taking a stance of, I'm not going to do this. I have encountered someone who did the same thing where I said, well, you must be grateful for something. And she said, I'm not grateful for anything. And I just thought, I don't even know how to speak to you because that just isn't in my lexicon. It's not in my world. But one of the things about helping people or fixing people, I always will say to someone, would you like my advice on that? As opposed to giving it right away. Would you like to hear my opinion on that? And I'm okay if I'm really okay if someone says no. I really, really am. But that's where I work through my codependence into interdependence. And I see codependence like this, you going to someone and engulfing them, and then them in turn engulfing you. And interdependence is when we come together and can interlace. But then when we're not, see, we're still individuals, right?
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You also mention in your book something that I've read somewhere else as well. And I talked to Michelle too about it. When there's people that you just can't have in your life, but you still want them, family, friends, you just place them in different parts of your orchestra. I know you say like the box office, I say like the orchestra pit, the front row, moving on to the back row, and then the lobby, and then the street.
Yes. Yes. Some people
involved, but they just maybe move back a couple rows, and sometimes they can move back up, but you have to do that to set boundaries and protect yourself, right?
Absolutely, especially when you are striving for something that's maybe they don't understand or is even bigger than your own mind can get to. We all might have an idea of like, I want to go for this or I want to achieve this, but we have no idea what it feels like to stand there once we arrive to that success. So of course that will bring up insecurities or fear or doubts. It's just because I always say you take information, you turn it into knowledge, and then you take an action. Well, that's the same way when you're pursuing a goal, right? So many times when we're pursuing a goal, we're in information, we're gathering the information, and then it becomes knowledge. And then when we're ready to take the action, well, that's our first experience of that action. So we don't have any history to know how we would feel. So having negative people around us who might be sniping in with their opinions or their own insecurities or their own fear that if you achieve something, that makes me less. And I think that's what is the most damaging about toxic people is you have to see people, when you rise up, people will either hold on to you and try to pull you back down to where they're comfortable. They will rise with you, or they will let go and go away. And that's where you have to accept that sometimes that's what has to happen. And that's the boundary you put in for yourself and your dream.
Camille, do you have another?
I do. I love how when you were saying that, I was just visualizing like almost like a hot air balloon in a way where some people fill up your balloon and it can go higher and some people are just like pulling it down. And it's interesting that once you let that go, you can soar higher with your team. But being an actor, there's so many times you go out on auditions, you go out on these jobs, you're told you're not enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this, you're thin, whatever it may be, and not feeling enough. And I know people who aren't actors still go through that. And I'm sure now there's a lot of people with COVID or just going through a lot of loss might be feeling not just imposter syndrome, but also feeling that emptiness and not feeling enough. And you bring up that you had to get your different certifications and so on to feel validated. But I'm curious, what else would you tell people that they can do in order to get past that imposter syndrome or build themselves back up or refill that hot air balloon, so to speak, to go after those jobs again or keep putting themselves out there and not feel like an imposter?
That's great. I first of all, I love the hot air balloon analogy. That's beautiful. I want to talk about enoughness versus fears and doubts and the imposter syndrome. They all are foundations or currents to our confidence. So that's the first thing. So with me, with enoughness, it is having gratitude for what you have right here, right now. That is what enoughness means to me, right? And we have to remind ourselves daily, weekly, hourly, what we are grateful for. And like Karen said, it could be the glass of water you had today. It could be that you just woke up in a good mood. It could be that the sun is shining. We don't have to get complex. The imposter syndrome is that you feel fraudulent, that you feel that the accomplishments you have, you didn't really achieve. Someone gave it to you. The imposter syndrome came out in the 60s. It was by two female psychologists, which I think is very interesting. And the imposter syndrome hits women more than anything. They said that in the 70s, most women who were admitted into Harvard Medical School actually called to question the admission board, did they get it right? So it is a natural thing. I'm going to speak to women right now that we have. Did I achieve this? It's historical, it's societal, it's all these things that we're turning that ship. I know we're turning it for our children, but I want you to remember that's a different thing when you feel, did I really get here? Did my work really get me this achievement? And what I always say is get right into facts versus feelings. What are the facts on this situation? And a lot of times as an actress, I have to say, did I do my job? Did I give it my 100%? Maybe I could have learned the lines a little better. Maybe I could have. So yeah, I don't know if I deserve this one, but there are auditions that I walk into saying, I know I did 100% the best thing I could do. I would cast nobody but me. It's on them now. And that's years of talking to myself. That's years of getting into facts. What are the facts? Did I do my job? Did I do my work? Did I give my best? Was I my word? Did I not take anything personally? All those things. And if I can say, yeah, I did it. I did this. Then I can let it go because I'm not into the results or what the outcome is. Did I answer your question? I hope so.
You did, but and then it makes me think about piggybacking on that a little bit also, where women have this, I think I felt like this, where I would have to feel like I fit the job description perfectly in order to even apply or audition for it. Like, oh, they want someone that's in this age range, maybe I won't fit, or they want somebody this height or this weight, this size, whatever. And then I read something about how women will make sure that they fit a job description 100% before even applying, but men will only fit like 30% or something really ridiculous.
It's even lower than that.
Yeah,
it's like
so I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for every job I want, not just the jobs I think I qualify for, because maybe they'll give me a shot and I'll get those opportunities. And that's how I started podcasting.
That is absolute, but that goes back to knowing what your gift is, what your passion is. And in between gifts and passion, we have a ton of talents and skills, right, that identify us. And no one is you, and that is your superpower. So going into any situation, whether it be a job or an audition or a new social circle, really telling yourself, what I bring to the table no one else can compete with because it's mine. And it may not be the shiny object that they want today. It may not be the loudest voice. It may not be the smartest voice. But what I have to say is of value. What I bring to somebody is of value. And if you can start that mantra for yourself, if you can start to see that superpower, what is your superpower? Your superpower might be that you're nice. That's okay. It might be that you're organized. It might be that you're extremely intuitive. It might be that you're kind. Don't ever dismiss what you bring to the table. And that's a daily ritual, practice, belief that you will carry into a room with you.
Alison, you do admit that you let fear almost sabotage your feelings of enoughness when your book came out. Can you share with us? I loved actually hearing that because you talked about your vulnerability and that we can slip and slide, and it's important to recognize that and then kind of put ourselves back on track. You're human. It happens. So can you share with us?
Yes, that's so great, because my boyfriend and I talked about that. He's like, remember, we're human. You know, there's certain things that, listen, if we don't have fear and doubt, then our ego is out of control, right? So the fear and doubt is sort of a check. Now, what you do with that fear and doubt, that's the difference, right? We're human. We feel insecure. We feel fear. We feel not enough. But it's what you do in that recovery time when you feel that. How quickly do you recover? Who do you need in your corner to reflect? Wait, am I doing this? You know, we can't work in a bubble with our minds. But when the book had a couple things. One is I was used to speaking and interacting with people. So I knew how it landed. I'm a performer. I got an instant applause or an instant feedback. So when I went to the book, first of all, it was a medium I'd never worked in. I did revere writers, thinking, can I just do this? Is this what I do? Okay. So my fear of putting the book out was also around self-publishing, being a new medium for myself. Would it translate? Again, I'm always very concerned about how you perceive it. Not how you perceive me, how you perceive my information. Is it helpful? I never want it to be toxic. I never want it to be misleading. I want it to be gracious. So releasing a book, I had no control over any of that. And I did have a perception that if I didn't have a publisher behind me, how do you do this? How do I put this out here? I didn't realize the impact it would have. So hindsight being 2020, I wish I had known that going in. I would have been a little more pushy. I also felt it was never that that I wasn't enough. Was I silly? Was I in the wrong direction? Was I presenting something that anybody wanted to hear? It was more that was my fear and insecurity. And my belief that I needed something bigger behind me, a machine behind me. And none of that was true. And that was proven to me over time.
Well, especially with Forbes rating you as one of the top, was it 10 or 7 books?
I have two distinctions from them, 2019 and 2020. The top 7 books to help you help yourself, and the top 10 books to help yourself at work. And I will tell you, when Forbes came out, I'll never forget it. It was October 3rd, and I was in New York City watching a Cardinals baseball game with my boyfriend in a bar. And I got a Google alert, and when the Google alert came up, I thought it was the lovely farmer in Scotland, Alison Robertson, not this Alison Robertson. And it said what it said about the top 7 books to help you help yourself. And I turned to my boyfriend and I said, is this me? And he goes, yeah, babe. I go, and I literally jumped up and ran outside and called my mother and called my business partner. And my business partner was driving her kids home from school. She pulled over her minivan and she said, no, we have to pay for this. This can't be. This is not right. And I said, well, call me back, because I'm about to freak out. And she called back and she said, oh my God, it's real. And I said, what do I do? And she goes, I don't know. And I go, okay. So I just kept looking at it over and over and over again, because it was a great reflecting moment for me.
Rachel?
I just love that story so much. I struggle, like your story just reminds me of Facebook and, social media. And I really don't post at all. And at some point I'm going to have to, but I've gone 51 years of really having, my kids still look like they're 10 and 11 and they're teenagers. But, what I love about that story is that, like, immediately, I'm sure your social media is like posting about, what you received. And then the reality is, like, you didn't even believe it was you. Like, that's like the part of the story that, like, makes everything so rich, is that, like, who would ever imagine, like, you're at the top of your game. You have this amazing this best-selling book. You already knew it was, you still didn't even think you could get that accolade. Like, it's just,
it was, I have to say, it was one of those moments that, and I remember standing on the street in New York City. It was just starting to rain and I was by myself, and I just kept thinking, like, what happens now? What do I do now? Because if anything, it ignited me to, okay, hang on, I'm going to need to rethink everything. Not because of that validation, but the possibility. Because that possibility wasn't even in my realm of thinking. And I think that is what I want to encourage people is, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know the possibilities of our actions, our accomplishments, or our dreams.
But did you envision that possibility truly? Like, when you were writing this, were you thinking, I could touch millions of people? Like, did you think that big?
I thought I would use the book to speak on stage. I thought I would give it to a CEO or an event planner or an organization and say, hey, I have something to say. I want to talk to your tens of thousands of people. Here's the book, and here's what I want you to pick something out of this book. I've even structured the book so that someone could say, I want you to talk about this subject. Could you do chapter 8 for us? Sure can. Can you do chapters 2 and 10? Sure can. I structured it so you could buy me. You could understand me. But I will tell you, when the book, I did a pre-launch, and when the book pre-launch and I was getting feedback, I will say on July 25th, 2019, my business partner, I stood there with a glass of champagne, and I think there's a video somewhere, and I say, to this book selling 1 million copies. Now, whether I believe that, whether that's going to happen, but I did put it out there. I did speak it. I wanted to speak it into existence. So I always say, be careful what you wish for. Be careful how you say it. Be specific. Be proud. Be bold, even if it's just with you in your room, because you just don't know what the possibilities are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, words have power, definitely. Someone once told me, one of our guests actually said, Lori Ross, who works with gemstones that I'm holding right now, that I like to hold during interviews, she's a word porn because she loves words and she loves positive words. And I love that. I just remember that all the time. You talk about your business partner, Melissa. And I've spoken with her, and she's helped me, to communicate. And she's done so much for you. We all need a Melissa. I was thinking, I want a Melissa. And you even said, people have asked for Melissa, and you're like, no. So just Melissa and herself and what she represents. I'm wondering, first of all, we hear how she's helped you, but how can we help each other so we can be that Melissa to each other? I mean, we talk on Grateful Goddesses all the time about helping and being like the hot air that helps the balloon rise instead of pulling it down, and helping to empower each other. But in terms of mentors or partnerships, how can we find that person or be that?
Listen, I feel incredibly blessed and grateful to Melissa, and our partnership is one of those things that I think, I give her such credit. I always say, I'm the voice, she's the brains, because we worked with a hypnotherapist in the beginning of our business. And she said, the reason you two get along is because Melissa listens the way Alison talks. She hears things, because I could drive someone crazy, because I could be over here, I'm talking about this, and then I jump over here, and she's just able to do it. And Melissa is my voice of reason. She can ground me, but she also allows me, she reflects you can. And she also makes those opportunities. So I'll come to her with something and say, I have this opportunity. Someone's asked me to be on this show, Grateful Goddesses, and I don't know what to do. And she's like, I'll handle it. Because my desire is to do it. Just my brain works in a different way, right? So does everybody need a Melissa? Not necessarily, but what they do need is a team. And that's not a staff or employees, but they need a team or a board of directors who they can go to. 3 to 5 people who you really trust, and they can vary. They shouldn't be yes people. And I have them, and I will call and say, am I crazy, or is this how I'm perceiving this? Hey, I have a thought. Should we go in this direction? What do you know about this? And I take their feedback seriously, because I appreciate how they think. I appreciate how they see me, and I trust them. So, because sometimes I can, get very big and go too far. And Melissa will say to me, okay, you've got 6 things that you just presented to us. Let's narrow it down to 2. I'm like, just 2? She's like, it's not that we're not going to do the other 4, but what are the 2 we're going to do right now? And I'll say, okay, let me get back to you. So I think everybody needs a team, or like I said, a board of directors that you really can go to when you have questions or desires that reflect back to you a truthful representation of yourself and your wants.
When I started Grateful Goddesses back in 2009, it was just me. And I go to different venues and have different events, and I loved it. But I always felt like I was missing something, and that was the team. And then when I relaunched it with this group of women and others that are featured goddesses, I love everyone's perspective. I love how when we research and we meet and we talk, we have, gabbing sessions. It's so fun just to kind of interact with each other. And I feel like this is my team. This is my tribe. And whether I agree with you, wherever you are in your life, if you can have even just one friend or one person, I tell my daughters this all the time, you just need one who can reflect back on what you're saying and listen and help. I feel like that's really important. Do you guys feel the same way? And do you have that in your life other than, the goddesses? Yeah?
Oh, absolutely. My mom, growing up, she had a group of girlfriends, and they had shirts that they made together. It was like puffy paint, and it said WTF. And it stood for Wait Till Friday, because they would hang out every Friday together. They were all officer wives. And it also stood for the same thing it's known for now as but I remember thinking, oh, I want that when I grow up. I'm going to have my own girl gang, and we're going to do stuff together. And so being part of GG, I'm like, girl gang, baby, but it's goddesses, even better. And so
we text each other all the time.
And we've never met. And the fact that I feel so bonded with you guys, and I'm always talking to you guys with my husband more than my friends I now know in real life. And he's just whatever makes you happy. And you guys definitely do.
Well, we're on this journey together. And I mean, part of it, and I was explaining to Alison about Grateful Goddesses, is that I feel like we all need our own little Grateful Goddess group, wherever that is. So if you're listening and you are part of this journey, or you join us Sunday nights for the live, but wherever you live, you can get that group. You can now, of course, virtually, you can find people that are like-minded, that help support you. For sure.
Even more so now, because we are so comfortable with Zooming and meeting people virtually as opposed to in person now. I think that's a positive that's come out of this entire COVID situation, is that we've expanded our way to reach people and communicate, even though
you're not alone.
Even though it's gotten less. Yeah.
Karen, it was when you were talking about, like, I like to correct people, and, and then you kind of get into that, like, competitive thing. But I also feel, I do feel like that now I'm of an age where I really do give my opinion. And I feel that if I'm always coming from a place of kindness And I always say, like, I rub honey all over what I say, but I know that my intentions are true. And I know that I am telling someone something from a place of not like a triggered moment, but like I really just want to share with them. And then I can also just leave it. They can, either they accept it, they don't respond. And I'm just like, your loss, like, you're lost if you don't want my feedback. It's a gift that I'm giving this to you. So I just wanted to add that when we were talking about that before, about just like, there is always this balance. And my whole family, I have 3 boys and my husband, and they're highly uncomfortable going out with me because I'll either give feedback or I'll listen to a story. Like I think that one of my gifts, I'm just the ultimate communicator. I like to make people feel comfortable always. I like inclusion. And so that's kind of how I am. But I think sometimes people are afraid to give feedback, and society has become so polarized with opinions, and we need to find that middle ground again. And I think we need to be brave enough to also speak our truth. And I feel that anyone like we goddesses or anyone who would be attracted to this podcast are people who just want to find that voice, who want to find that collective voice again.
I guess the difference, though, and Alison, you can correct me or not, is that you're not trying to fix someone. You can certainly express your opinion, but like you may open their eyes, and I try that every single day. I try to and express, oh, well, I think this or I think that, or I'll ask, like Alison, you said, do you want my opinion? Especially to my teenage daughter. She'll say, no, Mom, or, I don't agree with you. But it is important to say it, but I'm not trying to change. Like, I don't think we can. We just have to change our reaction to it, our response. Alison, you said that to me once. Actually, it's not changing reaction, it's changing response, right?
Becoming responsive versus reactive,
yes.
Right? That's just a little pause. So yes, be truthful. See where you can assist people, but don't be attached to the outcome. Mm-hmm. And that is when you are doing something very truthfully, honestly, because you're able to give it without needing a feedback or without a reaction. And I think with what Rachel was saying is, yes, we need to move into a space where we are responding to one another, which means I can hear your opinion. I can cross the footbridge with you. I can stand on that side of the bridge with you and really try to understand, if not experience, what you're saying or trying to impart to me. And then I get to cross over the footbridge back to my other side, and I get to know whether I take that information with me and use it. But either way, I have an understanding and I'm responding to it, not reacting to it or shutting it down or being in fear of it.
And I feel like I've gained so much wisdom that I without thinking about it until now, I realized that one of my gifts is sharing. Even if it's I get a new product or whatever, I want to share it with my good friends. And so I want to share the wisdom that, took me years to learn. And if I feel like somebody knows it, but I do agree. My grandmother always said, you can, what's the expression? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can show them, but then you have to, it's out of your control. You can't control what happens next.
But can I add something to that? But at the same time, I'm just newly turned 50 2 weeks ago, so I'm very happy to be a part of the club.
Another Aquarian. There's a lot of Aquarian.
Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. I'm right on the cusp. So, but I do think that as thought leaders and wisdom seekers, that we do have a responsibility to try to bridge this gap. So there is a dance that I think with our age, with our experience, that we get to now teach and show how it's done. Because let's face it, it hasn't been done. It's why we're where we are right now in society, right? We have to, as thought leaders, reach out and say, hey, have you thought of it this way? Let's dialogue about it. Let me understand your point of view. Now that I understood your point of view, could you listen to mine? That you don't have to take what I say, but can you just try to understand it? And I think that's why something like this show is so important, because it reverberates out into the world.
So let's say a person comes to work with you and you help them to feel at a place of enoughness, and then you help them to set goals and you make up a game plan for them. What I always want to know about are the actionable steps. And I know, I'm just curious if you can maybe give us an example of an actionable step. So maybe just a scenario, a fictitious scenario of a client that's coming to you for wanting something. And then how can you help them to take those steps?
Okay. I talk about this in my book, and I've done this with Karen. I really believe in that balancing our lives is bullshit. I'm so sorry, but it is, right? We don't balance anything. Balance is stressful, trying to keep those scales even. It's just anxiety ridden, stressful. I don't believe in that. I believe that we turn our lives into a soundboard. All the knobs and dials, that is your multi-passionate life. That is everything that you are, everything that you do. A mother, a girlfriend, a daughter, an actress, a speaker, a coach, a friend. I garden, I cook, right? Put everything onto my soundboard, all the knobs and dials, and I dial things up and down based on what is happening in my life at this moment. So I'm dealing with a sick parent. Okay, my social, my extracurricular activities, they're going to dial down because I need to put my attention here. I'm going to need to go to the grocery store more often. I'm going to need to take my vitamins. I'm going to need to dial up my exercise to sit. Putting your life into a soundboard allows you to give yourself the control of what you're paying attention to. And not everything gets the same amount of time or attention. There's nuances and styles. This way, I also believe we should touch our soundboard every day so that we're not abandoning anything. Okay, we're just dialing it down because this is getting turned up. All right, I'm going to write a book. All right, let me give some more attention to that. So it is about accountability. It is about goals with dates and times. It is about action items. But I want you to be touching your soundboard all the time because there's different elements of our life that need attention at different times. I just don't want you abandoning anything. And an example of that is, I have a client, her name is Jessica McCabe. She came to me when she was in her 20s. She was speaking to me. I was speaking and she was in the crowd. And she said to me, I either need to lose 15 pounds or gain 15 pounds because I don't think my agents get me. And they keep asking me for something. And I said, okay. And I felt the room inhale. And I said, everyone breathe. I have it. I said, first of all, this is not about you gaining weight or losing weight. This is about you being bigger. That is what they're asking of you. I said, so if you can reframe it to they're asking you to be bigger, not about size. It's about who you are. She started working with me as a coach. And I said to her, what do you want? Like, what is your real gift? And she said, I have ADHD. I got diagnosed when I was 12. And my parents, she said, did the best they could, but they handed me a bunch of books and some pills and said, you got to figure this one out, kid. And I was, of course, horrified. But I said, oh, wow. Okay. And she said, I never saw my ADHD as anything other than a superpower. And she said, I learned everything I could about it. And she said, my grandfather just died and left me a very small inheritance. I'm going to quit my job and start a YouTube channel. Hold, please. As a mom, I need you to take half that money and put it away. And as a coach, I'm all behind this. So let's meet in the middle. She started a YouTube channel. If you go onto her YouTube channel, it's called How to ADHD. She is one of the authorities in this country on ADHD. She did a TED Talk that has over 2 million views. She talks to people and explains to them how to use their ADHD to accomplish things. So this is somebody who just needed a reflection. And we did steps and 30, 60, 90 days, budget, accountability. But her reticulating, activating system never saw her disability as a disability. She saw it as a superpower. So look at that. So everything she did in her life. And if you go on her YouTube, she's delightful. She's a darling. She's so smart. She's so smart and she's self-taught.
I follow her because I was diagnosed late with ADHD, and I'm dyslexic, so I always refer to my dyslexia as being a superpower because it helped me learn to memorize faster. So You're blowing my mind right now because I really
love
look up to
this.
her.
What is her name again, Alyssa?
Her name is Jessica McCabe.
Okay.
And it's her channel is How to ADHD. And she literally talks to you and she goes, hello, brains. She's adorable. And if you don't have ADHD, when you watch her videos, you know what it feels like to have ADHD. So she actually creates an immersive experience. I don't even know if she does it on purpose, where you literally are like, wee. And she's helped my children who have ADHD. She has so many tips and tools, but that's just an example of a reflection, but also taking what she had and putting it into actionable steps. And
so you didn't say lose the 15, gain the 15. You said, wait, let's reflect back, which is, you've done that with me, not about weight, but you've done that with me about what I want to do with Grateful Goddesses. And you've done the soundboard. And I love that. I just wanted you to show others because you really are an incredible coach. And if our viewers or listeners want to reach out to you to have some of your services, or maybe I know that they can get your book on your website. Can you share with us how to connect?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying that. I really do appreciate it. Yes, you can go onto my website, which is AlisonRobertson.com. And on the website, if you don't want a hard copy of the book, I do send a digital copy if you sign up for it. Yes, I'm a coach that I Zoom and Skype all over the world. But I am starting a course on Enoughness. So I'm doing a 10-week course to help people embrace who they are and actually dissecting the book with them so that they understand me in real time and what I really hope they get out of the book. So it's.
And are you writing a second book too? Have you thought about that? You are.
I am. I'm writing a book. It's called the FU response, how to have grace in every situation. And
I love that.
I believe that people do and say stuff to us, and when it's not authentic, or when it's mean, or when it's judging, we get a response that says, F you. And you all know that response. It's immediate. And I want to teach people to use that, to not then go after somebody, but to pause and learn how to respond and continue to have that grace in that communication and how you communicate with people, right? Because I believe if we start communicating in a kinder, more responsive way, this world will change.
I get asked a lot from friends and so on that are professional women, how they can get back into the dating world, especially maybe they were married before, or maybe they were never married but were career focused and now they're in their 40s and they've established themselves to be they're professional, they have their own homes maybe, and it's just they're having a hard time dating. And now even with Zoom being kind of the only way they can because of the pandemic, and you have a history of working with eHarmony and having your own advice column, can you give any advice for any people that might be looking for love the second time or maybe the first time around in a Zoom world?
Absolutely. So I started off as a relationship coach. That was where I put my foot in the water. So dating right now is such an unusual thing, especially for women our age. You know, it's all so different and all so new and what? So the first thing I want to say is don't take anything personally when you're going forth, right? Don't take anything personally. I ask my clients to do this, is I ask them not to speak to their sisters, their mothers, the people closest to them, because they see you in a very unique way. And it's not necessarily the way you're presenting yourself in the romantic world. So I ask again to find that committee, that board of directors that can sort of reflect to you who you really are and what your desires are without judgment. Because what you are going to attract romantically may be very different from your friend group. And a lot of women make a mistake of, well, my friends give me this, and my friends give me emotional support, and my friends reflect me, and my friends get me, and my friends don't judge me. And then you go out into the world, and if you're maybe looking for a man, you want him to fulfill those things that maybe your friends do. He doesn't want to do that. I want you to find what you're looking for in a romantic partner, who you want to share your life with, who you want to share experiences with. It's different than what your friends bring you. So watch asking people really close to you for advice, unless they can be very objective with you. The other thing is, please make a list of what you're looking for. Please make a list of the dream man, dream person, dream partner. My success stories, I had a time where I was coaching a bunch of women in Austin, and I would fly there every few weeks and I would coach them. And I think there was 8 of them in my group. 6 of them are married right now. So, and they all made a list. My business partner made a list. She was dating Melissa, and on her wedding day, I gave her the list back, and her husband had everything but 2 of the things she wrote down. So remember, our words are powerful. Speak it into existence. And just know it's like the wild, wild west out there. So just know what you're looking for, because if you don't know what you're looking for, it could float right past you and you won't know to reach out and grab it. And
to piggyback on that, so I am manifesting, whether it's a vision board or during my meditation when I have to answer, what do I want? I do. And what I've learned is what I ask for has come to me, but then I realize I have to refine it. Because wait a minute, okay, he's got those things, but whoa, he's got this, and I didn't even think about that. So that's sort of where I'm at, but I also trust myself. I've come to a place where I've learned to trust my gut, and I pat myself on the back when I show up for myself. And sometimes, like, you know what? Last week I had to tell somebody after like 4 dates, you know what, I'm sorry, it's not working. And I did feel really badly about it, but I was really proud of myself because I showed up for myself. And I finally learned how to do that.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Well, she said to me, and I can edit this out. She said, I got my tall, dark, and handsome, but there was something missing. And we're like, well, then you have to say, you know, whatever it is that's missing. So you're very clear.
Or you have to see, is this a person, if they're missing that, can they work with you? Can you grow? Can you become interdependent, right? As opposed to codependent. And if this person that you've met doesn't have that skill yet, are they willing to embrace it, learn it, grow with you? It's that footbridge again. I mean, I speak about this all the time. So my boyfriend is 17 years younger than me. And I have to be honest. He came to me in a package, and I don't know if I would have recognized him if he was in his 50s. The fact that our age difference and who we are, it made me pay attention. It made me take note. And one of the things is, how does the person make you feel? On our first date, I sat down and started talking to him. He's the same age as my son. So it was really intense. It was a very intense when I found out how old he was. I almost had a heart attack. And I just kept saying to my girlfriends, but I feel safe with him. I feel seen by him. I feel I can do anything with him. I don't need him to bring me something. I just need him to reflect me. And that's the gift I could give anybody that's dating. Does the person reflect who you are? And if you look in my book notes, in my thank yous, I say to Spencer, thank you for reflecting me, because it was his reflection of me that made me say, oh, wait a minute. I got something to say. I got something to do.
I hear you. And I've also been doing that. Wendy Cohen, who's been on the show a couple times, who's my mindfulness coach, who I just adore. You know, I wasn't 100% clear. So she said, start asking for things like, I want to feel safe when I'm with this person, or whatever it is. I want to feel joy. I want to feel, heard, etc. And so I do that as well.
Yeah, it's so important. And
it's not about looks like it used to be. Yeah.
Dating is not for the faint of heart, I must say.
It's not.
I did hear on the news yesterday, there was a segment that I was fascinated in, that a lot of people who are dating now online because of the pandemic, it's kind of like a slow love. Like they're getting to know each other so much better. And talk rather than just texting and, going out for a drink and, jumping in bed. Like, it's really a nice kind of old-fashioned way to get to know each other again.
Yes. Communication, right?
So
and
there's hope.
And being honest about who you are. Right. I'm an over-communicator. I'm an over-communicator and an overthinker in romance. So you need to know that going in. And if that's something you can't deal with, then you might need to reconsider me.
Exactly. In your book, and I'd like to end with this, a couple pages in, you say, I believe to be complete, you have to have enoughness. Enoughness can include, but is not limited to, the following. And I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll read a few. Satisfied, full, empowered, humor, believer, peace, stillness, encompassing, entire, authentic, healthy, precious, adequate, satisfactory, bliss. I mean, it can go on and on. And I think I'm going to write out these words and put them all over my mirror, because even just these words are happiness, delight, joy. I mean, it's more than enough, which I love. And thank you so much, Alison, for joining us today and helping us to see that we are enough and we can move forward and all of our gifts and all of our passions. And we're so grateful to you. Thank you for joining us on Grateful Goddesses.
Thank you so much.
Up next, favorite things. Opening up to happiness and joy.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Grateful Goddesses' Favorite Things. It's like an adult show and tell with our guest, Alison Robertson. Of course, one of my new favorite things is her book, Enoughness. I'm almost finished. It is just an amazing guide to helping to trust your inner voice and to find your gifts and your passion. But I did want to share a little favorite thing from one of my girls in my tribe. She sent me a galentine's floral arrangement, and I've been smelling it all day. It's so lovely. And I think it's really important, like you said, to have women around you, people that really can listen, can hear, can show their perspective, that you're not afraid to tell things to and for them to reflect back and to really hear what your desires are and what your wishes are. So I love my flowers, and happy Galentine's tomorrow to my grateful goddesses. Michelle, what did you bring today?
Well, it's right here, so I didn't have to bring it. I'm going to hope that you can see. I'm going to turn this up. Right in the top there. I don't know if you can read it, but I had my dear late grandmother loved to cook, and loved to bake, and she was known for her cookies. So I inherited her recipe box, and she was most known for her chocolate chip recipes. So I took the index card exactly as it was, and there's stains on it and typos, which is her chocolate chip recipe. And I love it. I feel like a part of her is in my home every day, and people always comment on it. And I actually instead of pulling out the index card, I actually use this to make the cookies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Camille?
So I am notorious for I think a lot of actors are kind of superstitious. So we have like certain things we might always wear for an audition, or maybe you wear your wardrobe, the same thing you wore in an audition, you'll wear it again in the callback. We're just very superstitious sometimes. And one of the superstitious things I like to wear lately is my necklace that says #happy. And I love wearing it because just even though I'm not sure if it reads the right way because I'm dyslexic, so I'm always like, well, at least I know no matter what, I feel happy when I see it, even if I can't read it or no one else can read what it says. But as a kid, I always wanted a nameplate. And I think even later on when I saw Sex and the City and Carrie had a nameplate, and I was like, oh, I always wanted a nameplate necklace. So my little happy necklace.
It's so true, Alison, with the superstitions. I mean, I go for auditions and castings, whatever, and I remember blue is the color, my agent said to wear, and I went out and got this blue top. A lot of us wearing blue today. And I went, and everyone had the same J. Crew blue top on. I was like, no, next time I'm wearing red. So I can stand out. Rachel, what did you bring?
First of all, I wanted to comment, Michelle, I have my grandmother's self-portrait. She owned an art gallery. I have lots of her work. In fact, actually, this will be my favorite thing today. This is a piece of art from my grandmother. It's a Miro. And I have all of this incredible art, but I have her self-portrait on this gallery wall in my house. And I have Picasso, Dali, Miro, and everyone comments on the self-portrait of my grandmother that that's their favorite piece of art on the wall.
Wow. That's beautiful. And lucky you to have all that wonderful art. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
And I feel like her spirit is watching. She's such a strong woman. Again, she owned an art gallery, in the 50s and 60s, like the artists that I mentioned, were alive at the time. And to have a woman who owned her own business and her husband, my grandfather was the mayor of the town. They were just a strong couple. So.
And I went to visit Rachel. Sorry.
No, it's just blowing my mind. I mean, because, my mom's an artist and who do I have above me? Oh, my grandmother's portrait. So I'm just like, I didn't know that, Rachel. So yeah, sorry.
Rachel, you'll have to take a picture to show us. I went to visit Rachel, I don't know, about a month ago, socially distanced, of course, with masks on. I dropped something off for her. And the first thing I saw were all these beautiful paintings on her wall. And I remember seeing that. It's gorgeous. And Alison, what did you bring today?
Well, it couldn't have been better. My grandmother was a huge influence to me, and I grew up with her in a multi-generational household. And she always wore bracelets. Always gold bangles. So I always have on a wrist full of gold bangles, and I call them my story. So each bracelet is from someone or something, and based on what energy or superstition I have going on, I pull out different bracelets. And for my 50th birthday, my girlfriends all bought me a part of my story so they can be a part of my story. But I have anything from my book title on here to super women power to bend the rules. And I wear them in 3, 5s, and 7s. So I'm very superstitious, and it's my anchoring. And it also reminds me of everything my grandmother taught me, because she wore this wrist full of bracelets my entire life.
Wow. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
We have bracelets. We always talk about bracelets too. Remember Sister Biz and
yeah.
And I'm wearing one from Ellen Schwartz. She makes these to support. You're wearing it too, Camille. I got it for all the girls. I'll send one to you, Alison, to add. I know you have bangles, but this is
no. But I do, but it's part of my story, and I love based on what energy or what power I need or what reminder I need. I put it on my wrist.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, and again for being here today on Grateful Goddesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to all of you.
Unleashed your inner goddess yet? Thanks for joining us today on Grateful Goddesses. We invite you to visit our website, www.gratefulgoddesses.com, to access today's show notes as well as other helpful resources. Don't forget to leave a review. Until next time, stay strong and empowered to be a grateful goddess.